7 herb pots can stay useful on a patio for years, but the word perennial on a plant tag is not a lifetime guarantee. Container roots face sharper cold, faster drying, and less room to recover from mistakes. These 7 culinary herbs earn a long-term pot because they tolerate repeated harvest, remain manageable, and have a realistic winter plan for American gardeners. One of them is famous for being easy, yet it may be the hardest plant here to keep alive through a cold indoor winter. This is not a ranking of the strongest flavor or the biggest harvest. A plant qualifies only if it is widely useful in the kitchen, suited to container culture, and honest about its main limitation. Start with 1 herb per pot. That makes watering easier, leaves room for roots, and lets you move a tender plant without disturbing its neighbors. Use containers with open drainage holes and a loose potting mix. Then choose the exact species or cultivar for your climate. The name on the label matters more than the picture beside it. If you enjoy this video, subscribe to Pollinator now. Number 7. Chives. A healthy pot of chives looks like a fountain of narrow green leaves, and that compact shape is one reason it works so well near a kitchen door. The plant grows as an expanding clump rather than a wandering vine or tall shrub. Snip leaves with clean scissors, taking modest amounts from different parts of the clump instead of shaving the entire pot to the soil every time. Perennial herbs need enough green growth left behind to rebuild. Chives appreciate good drainage, but they do not want the root ball to stay bone dry for long stretches. Check the mix with a finger and water when it begins to dry, rather than following a fixed calendar. As the clump thickens, water can stop reaching the center evenly and new leaves may become crowded. That is the signal to lift and divide the plant, refresh the mix, and give the divisions room. In cold regions, the leaves may disappear during winter and return from the roots in spring. A pot offers less insulation than garden soil, so local hardiness guidance still matters. Protect the container, place it in a sheltered location, or use an appropriate unheated storage plan recommended by your local extension office. The limitation is seasonal dormancy, not failure. Chives earn their pot by returning with a useful first wave of green growth. Number 6. Thyme. Thyme creates a completely different picture. Its tiny leaves cling to low, woody stems that can spill over a rim or form a compact mound. It belongs in the sunny, fast-draining part of the patio. A loose mix and an unobstructed drain hole matter because thyme handles a short dry spell more gracefully than constantly wet roots. Choose a culinary thyme rather than assuming every decorative ground cover will taste the same. Upright types are easy to clip into short sprigs, while creeping forms can soften the edge of a pot. Harvest leafy tips and trim lightly enough to keep the plant branched, but do not treat the oldest bare wood like fresh green growth. If a thyme plant opens in the center, looks weak after winter, or stays wet for days, examine the drainage and root space before reaching for fertilizer. Thyme is often hardy in the ground where it is well adapted, yet a container can move the roots into a colder, effective environment. In places with severe winters, a sheltered pot, a cold frame, or another locally recommended protection method may be the difference between a spring comeback and an empty pot. Its main limitation is wet soil, especially when cold weather slows evaporation. Number 5. French Tarragon. This is the plant where careful shopping changes the entire result. True French Tarragon does not produce viable seed. A packet simply labeled Tarragon is commonly Russian Tarragon, a taller and coarser relative with different culinary quality. Buy a plant clearly labeled French Tarragon, or obtain a rooted cutting or division from a reliable source. The plant forms slender stems with narrow, bright green leaves and produces a distinctive harvest without needing a wide garden bed. Give it a well-drained pot and avoid leaving the root zone saturated through winter. Harvest young tips during active growth, then allow enough foliage to remain for recovery. Every few years, division can renew a crowded plant and create a fresh start in new mix. French Tarragon may tolerate light shade, but drainage is the non-negotiable part of its setup. In climates where it goes dormant, leaving the top growth through winter can improve its chances, with cutting back delayed until new spring growth begins. The main limitation is not production, it is identity and winter moisture. Buy the wrong plant or keep the roots waterlogged and the long-term pot never gets a fair beginning. Pet owners should also place tarragon where dogs and cats cannot chew it. Number 4. Mint. Mint is the clearest example of a container solving a plant problem. Underground stems let it spread beyond the spot a gardener intended. In a roomy solo pot, that same vigor becomes manageable. Fresh shoots can fill the container without taking over a vegetable bed or slipping beneath a path. Unlike thyme, mint prefers more even moisture and can be useful where the patio is not at its hottest and driest. Check it more often during warm, windy weather. When stems become long and sparse, regular tip harvests encourage a fuller mound. If roots circle tightly or the center thins, divide the plant, keep a vigorous section, and renew the potting mix. Do not crowd mint into a mixed planter with herbs that want to dry between waterings. One plant will always receive the wrong care. A separate pot also lets you choose peppermint, spearmint, or another clearly labeled culinary type without losing track of it. The limitation is its wandering habit, so keep the container on a hard surface and watch for stems rooting in nearby pots. Contained and harvested, mint turns from a garden escape artist into a dependable patio crop. If you want more honest small space food gardening without the miracle claims, subscribe to Pollinator. Number 3. Sage. Common culinary sage begins as a soft cluster of gray-green leaves, then gradually develops woody stems. That aging process is normal, but it changes how the plant should be handled. Give sage strong light, moving air, and a potting mix that drains promptly. Wet roots and humid, crowded foliage are a poor combination. Harvest the leafy tips and young stems rather than stripping every leaf from old wood. Light, regular trimming during active growth helps maintain a compact shape. Avoid forcing lush, weak growth with heavy fertilizer. Sage is valued for concentrated leaf flavor, so a smaller, well-grown plant can be more useful than a large, floppy one. The honest limitation is that a perennial is not immortal. A sage plant can become woody, split, or decline after several seasons, especially where wet winters or severe container cold stress the crown. A fresh cutting or replacement may eventually be more sensible than trying to rescue a hollow plant. Select a cultivar suited to your region and give the pot winter protection where local guidance calls for it. Sage earns long residence, not a promise of forever. Number 2. Greek oregano. Oregano can look almost too ordinary in spring, a low mat of green stems spreading toward the rim. Then repeated cutting turns that mat into a steady kitchen supply. Greek oregano is a practical choice when culinary flavor is the goal, but the exact label matters. Seed-grown plants can vary, so a named transplant or a cutting from a plant with flavor you already like provides more certainty. Place oregano with the sun-loving, quick-draining herbs. Let the upper mix begin to dry before watering again, then water thoroughly enough for excess to leave the pot. Clip leafy stems before they become tall and sparse. If you want to share some flowers with bees and other visiting insects, allow a portion to bloom while continuing to harvest another portion for the kitchen. Oregano can spread within its container, which makes division and repotting part of the long-term plan. Its main limitation is inconsistency. Different species and seedlings sold under the broad oregano name may not deliver the same habit, flavor, or cold tolerance. Check the botanical name, taste a leaf when appropriate, and match the plant to local winter conditions rather than assuming every oregano behaves alike. Number 1. Rosemary. Rosemary earns the final pot because it forces the most important decision in this entire list. Is the container supposed to remain outdoors all year, or is it designed to move? In regions roughly corresponding to USDA zones 8 through 10, rosemary is commonly grown as a perennial evergreen shrub. Some named cultivars tolerate colder conditions with protection, but rosemary is not reliably winter hardy on every American patio. Outdoors, give it full sun, excellent drainage, and enough air around its narrow, resinous leaves. Choose a container that can support a developing woody plant without becoming impossible to move. Clip flexible tips for cooking and shape young growth gradually. Constantly wet mix can lead to root trouble, while a cramped pot can dry much faster than it appears from the surface. Where winter cold exceeds the plant's tolerance, Move the pot to a bright, protected location before hard frost. Acclimate it to lower indoor light rather than shifting it abruptly. Inspect the foliage for pests and water according to the actual moisture in the mix. Indoor rosemary can be challenging because winter light is limited and both overwatering and severe drying cause trouble. If a bright window is not enough, supplemental light may be necessary. That is rosemary's limitation and its advantage. It may be the hardest plant here to overwinter indoors, but a movable container gives a cold climate gardener an option that open ground does not. Now look at the 7 pots as a small system. Mint and chives usually need more consistent attention to moisture. Thyme, sage, oregano and rosemary belong in the sunnier, faster draining group. French tarragon deserves its own carefully drained middle ground. Keeping them separate allows each root zone to receive the care it needs, and it makes every pot easier to divide, shelter or replace. Label each plant with its full name, leave drainage paths open, harvest perennial growth with restraint, and review winter protection with your local extension guidance. Permanent does not mean untouched. It means a plant remains useful enough to justify repotting, dividing, pruning, and moving when the season demands it. Build those habits around these 7 herbs, and a row of modest containers can become one of the longest working parts of the patio.